Hi, everyone. It's Norman Koshnek yet again, still bearded, still hasn't had a shave, probably won't have a shave. By the end of this damn COVID lockdown here in Australia, I'm going to end up with a beard out here somewhere, but that's all right. We'll work on it.
Ready for Christmas, Norman. Ready for Christmas.
So, and you just heard Reg Vernon, a.k.a. Banster Boys here.
Hi, guys.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So, for something the Rainers already asking to take his question. We've just started, for God's sake. Give me a chance. we can't take questions. We haven't even introduced each other yet. You want me to ask questions? Just relax. Questions will come, guys. Okay. I've just uploaded a Joe Root media conference, which he's just had. And he talks a lot about England's selection. He's basically previewing in his mind the second test, which was only less than 2 days away, effectively, which has come up pretty quickly. Hence why we're not having an next 6 day of a test. We couldn't fit it in. The occupational health and safety issues. David Graveney, on that 40,000 plus viewer episode, talked about that, which was very interesting. And yeah, so what we're going to do tonight is talk about a lot of things, but probably one of the major things is the Australian Bangladesh, or the debacle. Australia all out for 62. When I heard Matthew Wade talk after the, he was disgraceful. I thought he was ordinary. He was apologising, but then he was trying to say positives. There were no positives. And I've had a learned friend of mine on LinkedIn, and I have had a long chat today. There are 8 or 9 players in that squad that shouldn't even be near that squad. 8 or 9 Australian players, and he's right. I would even go as far as 11.
You've got to remember that everyone else in the entire world is rather enjoying it.
Yeah, but I don't think cricket's the better for seeing either the West Indies or Pakistan or Australia, for that matter, or South Africa not going well. I don't think anyone really wants the team to go badly. If it's based on...
No, we do, Norm. I'm sorry. We want to see Australia buried and trampled on. No one else. We'd like everyone else to be resurgent and playing good cricket, but not the Aussies.
Be careful. They might be listening and they might want to take it.
They can come on. I dare them. I dare any Australian cricketer to come on and tell me.
I saw Dave Warner today with his wife down in Coogee.
There we go.
So the reality is that, and I'm going to talk about it more. So that's one of the Australia Bangladesh is certainly one thing we're going to talk about. They've lost 4-1. They've lost 8 out of 10 matches.
It's their lowest ever 2020 score yesterday, Norman.
Oh, they were lucky to get that. Sorry, they were lucky to get that far. It's really less.
I assume the pitches were just awful, were they? I mean,
look, you know what? We have to remember both teams are subjected to the same pitch. Now, Bangladesh, admittedly, they're used to it. It's the home conditions, but that's still not an excuse. You know, Australia has home conditions, but India were able to surpass that and win a tournament.
Norman, I'm not going to be a hypocrite on your show. I thought the wicket that India prepared for the day-nighter, I think it was a day-nighter last winter, was a shocker to cricket. I mean, within 20 minutes, it was just like a sandpit. And I turned around and I said that it's just not good for cricket. It's not good, and that groundsman shouldn't be allowed to do that. Because one month later in the IPL, the pitch was flat as a pancake and the ball was being hit to all parts. But for the Test match,
but again, I keep saying this. Norman, look at your beard. I'm looking at my beard. I know it's there. I'm still surprised.
Munchie just messaged me to ask you to get a shave, Norman.
I know. The reality is that this is the reality. I don't care the pitch is low, slow, fast, green, whatever. Both teams have to play on the same pitch. So it's equally as bad for both teams. So realistically, one team comes, it's a shocking pitch, and another team say nothing. The reality is both, unless the pitch changes, let's say it's a 5-day test match, and at day 1 it's certain conditions, and then day 2 it's been tampered and damaged. That's a different story. But the reality is both teams have to play on the same pitch. So I don't really care if they're not ready for it, because then both teams are effectively not ready for it.
I do slightly disagree, and we're not majorly disagreeing, but just a slight nuance of difference. Bangladesh are used to those conditions, and they have a side very much geared to exploit them. Bangladesh come to Australia and play on a hard, fast, bouncy one, they'll be demolished as well. You know, I know it's also home advantage, but you know, if you're going to play on a desperately low, dead, spinning wicket, it's hard. You know.
Yeah, look, but we can't take away from the fact that they're grown men who are professionals at Test cricket. And Matthew Wade stupidly said they weren't prepared, but then he yet turned around and said that a lot of the players have played on it. Dan Christian himself said Dan Christian is a more astute man. Dan Christian, in my opinion, if you're going to talk about captaincy, he should have been captain. He knows what he's doing. He actually took the game by the scruff of his neck, opened the batting. He literally, you know what, to be really honest with you know who truly captained that team from behind was Dan Christian.
Isn't he up for the West Indies over 50s job, though, Norman? Because he could qualify for the West Indies in a couple of years and be straight into their side, couldn't he? Dan Christian's old enough.
But the reality is Dan Christian, Virat Kohli speaks the world of him. Most people do. He's a very astute man. He's experienced still. He should be the one. He literally saw Matthew Wade faltering as captain and said, Matthew, out of the way, I'm taking over. That's literally what he had to do. He did it with his own bat. He got 5 sixes in the match they won. And the next match, Matthew Wade goes, oh, you just opened the batting. He basically said, I don't know what I'm doing. Help. Honestly.
He's a good, solid cricketer, isn't he, Dan Christian? He's been around for a long time.
But you've got to be quality. I'm sorry, and I'll keep saying this. Matthew Wade should not have captained Australia. Alex Carey was in the team, who was captaining ODI. It makes no sense. That's where the problem started and finished. Okay? I don't know what's going on there, but he's
can't blame the player. You blame the management system above him. I'm sure someone asked him, and I'm sure he said yes because of it. I mean, who would say no?
Well, the reality is it was a mistake. Huge. Yeah. Okay, the guy's barely in the team, let alone he was captaining. And he talked in the press conference as if he was going to be in he's a certainty to play in the World Cup. He will not be in the squad, I don't think.
Bet you're wrong.
Well, okay. He won't be playing in the match. He will not be in the team. He will not be in the team.
He's in Test 50 over and 20 over. He's in all 3 squads at the moment, Matthew Wade. If I'm right.
No, he's not the test. No, he's not the Test squad. He's dropped.
He played. All right.
He's dropped. He's dropped.
Okay.
Categorically dropped.
Yeah.
And anyway, there's a real George Bailey will come into play. And I wonder what George Bailey whether he's got time to fix it, but okay, who will win at Lord's? Nice
to say hello to everyone. We've got a lot of people saying hi, hello to everyone. Nice to be back. And can we ask before we ask who will win? I just wanted to go back on your prediction, Norman, for the last test. England all out 80, India to win before lunch, I think was what you said for day 4. Is that right? I think that's what you said.
Yeah, but the reality was England can't boast that they won the match. I'm sorry.
They didn't win the match.
I'll tell you what, the way that Joe Root is talking at the moment in that press conference, he has an air of that he's won the match.
No, but you know, Norman, and we all know that when you get back into a changing room at the end of a match that you've got out of with a draw or sometimes a lucky win, it feels like a win. That will feel like a victory to England because going into the last day, they weren't big dogs, but they were definitely the underdogs. But let's not fool ourselves. It wasn't a dead cert that India would get those runs, but they were definitely favourites to get the runs. England would have known that. So getting away with the draw will feel like a win. You just know, what it's like cricket.
Actually, that's what I care. Before we so adamantly say something, we need to put the context around this. Typically, when you have a draw, the team in, let's call it ascendancy at the point where the draw is called, which was India, at that point they were in charge. I mean, even though apparently, I'll tell you what happened last night. And what's his name? Actually, Aparna said that she predicted they'd be 5 for 120 at that stage, which was interesting. The reality is, when you reach a point in the match where you are in ascendancy and expected to win at that point, and you're frustrated and don't get to go on the field, it will feel like a loss. And the team that's knowingly not in the ascendancy and have the match stopped on them then they're somewhat relieved and also seen as a win. The difference may have been if, let's just say, the game took the first session and England took 5 wickets. Then it rained. That actually may have changed it completely around. England may have been very frustrated, having thought they would have won. India might have been relieved. It's bizarre how that could have happened. But I don't think. Okay, England, the way Joe Root talked just then, certainly acted like he won, and he was almost glad to be able to announce Moeen Ali in the squad. Ollie Pope, he made it pretty clear he's back.
Yeah.
And the third one was Hamid. He was less confident, but he did make a point of that. So the reality is, and one of the I think it was Jonathan Norman, actually, who's a good friend of mine, asked him something to the effect of, well, what's changed from last week to this week? Why is all of a sudden Moeen Ali in the squad? And he explained it very well, because he actually talked about Chris Wokes. And the unavailability of Chris Wokes has pushed them to look for another all-rounder, bowling around.
On this podcast, Norman, maybe just before the test, didn't we?
Exactly.
Me and you were discussing, and I think when Alan was on, he wasn't so keen on this, but we said that England have got a balance problem. Without Stokes, that gives them a massive problem because Leach doesn't bat. And if you want to get the spinner in, you can't have Anderson, Broad, Leach, and another potentially non-batter. The tail's too long. So they've got a big problem without Stokes. So what I said, I'm sure you'll remember, I said either Ali or Livingston need to be drafted in. I know Livingston hasn't played a test match, but he's a pretty decent spinner and he can bat.
So Livingston's actually in the squad?
No, he's not. No, nor was Ali at the time. And I said that's what they're going to look. I was sure that's what they were going to look to do. Because
they haven't taken Livingston this time.
No,
they've
taken Ali, and Ali will play.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a question here which...
I just want to say quickly, Norman, hello to Tony Xavier on the comments. Tony, I was born in Epsom. He says hello from an Epsom boy. Well, I was born in Epsom, Tony, and lived in Ewell for the whole of my life up until the age of 30. So hi to you. Go. And have you subscribed? It's free. Doesn't cost you anything. Press the subscribe button. Anyway, sorry, Norman. Read the question to me.
So looking at this now. Moeen Ali and Hamid, England will be much better. But with sunshine in all 5 days, I wouldn't mind resting Siraj for Ashwin. What's going to happen for some is I don't think Siraj is going to be rested. It's probably going to be Thakur.
India have got a problem, Norman, haven't they? They've got a problem insofar that Jadeja's too good a player. And that gives them a problem because their batting misfired. They only got 270, and that was thanks to 2 players, really. Rahul and Jadeja. Now, what they'd really like to do, I'm sure, would be to swap Ashwin and Jadeja around. But I can't see that they can do that. So that gives them a problem because Ashwin has to play because I'm here to tell everybody now that the weather is going to be fine. It's not going to be any interruption. It's going to be 5 days of sunshine, maybe a bit of cloud, but for England, it's going to be, so the weather is going to be good. It'll be a 5-day test if it goes that far. Therefore, both sides, you can already see England are going to be playing a spinner. So you know that it's going to be a spinner will be needed if England are going to play one because they'd rather not if they could get away with it. So that means India needs, because Jadeja is a great player, but he's not your best frontline spinner. That's Ravi Ashwin.
No,
he's
Ashwin's
probably the best spinner in the world, Ashwin, so he's got to play.
But the reality is there's something people are forgetting about Ashwin and Jadeja. People don't comment about this often enough. When they bowl in tandem, they actually create real havoc because the batter is getting 2 very different perspectives from both ends. And I think that that's actually very relevant.
Norman, I don't disagree, but how often in recent memories do people play 2 spinners in England? You just don't need it. You just do not need 2 spinners. So if they do that, that means they're down to 3 seamers.
Well, I think that's correct.
That's the problem. That's their problem.
Well, they're going to be putting in, as I said, it seems pretty clear from the discussions that even Kohli has had before the test that Thakur came in for Ashwin. Okay? So that would mean if Ashwin's going to return, Thakur will go out. And let's not forget Ashwin can still bat. It's not like they've lost batting technique there.
I think that's what they'll do as well. I wouldn't do that. because I'm an Englishman. I know how we play, and I think 3 seamers isn't. England won't do that, by the way. England will play 4 seamers. I'm absolutely convinced of it. Absolutely convinced that England will not do that. What India are going to do.
So you're saying 4 seamers and a spinner?
Yeah, because Moeen Ali gives you the balance.
Well, Lawrence is out. Lawrence is out.
Oh yeah. It's how I don't know how England will line up, but I think they'll play.
But I mean, if Pope and Moeen Ali come in, the first person to go is Lawrence. I actually think Bairstow might survive.
I think Bairstow will survive.
Yep, and I think then they'll have to get rid of another player, and that could well be who.
Let me tell you what I don't think they'll do this necessarily, but I think.
Now, hang on, before we get to that, before we give each other sides, let's put on the conjecture of what will happen. Not our sides, but what should happen. If Joe Burns has just mentioned Moeen Ali, he's in. That means Lawrence is out, gone.
Yep. Yeah.
That's
no. I think that's Moeen Ali for Curran. By the way.
Sorry.
I think that's Moeen Ali for Curran.
No, but then you got 4 seamers. So who are the 4 seamers going to be?
The seamers will be Broad, Anderson, Wood, and Robinson.
Okay.
That's
and you're going to drop Curran for. But hang on, but you have to drop someone for Wood going in as well.
Yeah, I would be dropping Curran, Lawrence, Crawley. I would drop out.
But you're really talking about 4. No, you're talking about 4 chain. Well, Hamid's. It didn't set. Okay, let me finish. Let me go through the discussion. Joe Root made it pretty clear that he said Hamid will come in sometime. That implied to me not this test. Okay, so I don't think Hamid's coming in. So that'll leave Burns.
Absolutely mad.
Burns and Sibley will probably still open. Now, with Bairstow, Crawley out.
Yeah,
Crawley out, and on top of that, Lawrence out.
Yep.
So Crawley, Lawrence, and you're saying Sam Curran.
Yep.
Which would mean Pope, Moeen Ali, and Wood.
Yep.
But there is the potential of a 4th change, and that is with Hamid for Sibley, but that's not going to happen.
I think it might happen. I think it might well happen.
But then there was talk in this press conference very, very quickly. Do you think too many changes will destabilise the side? Yeah. And Joe wrote.
We've got to do it. We've got to do it.
Joe Root made it pretty clear. In his mind, he said Hamid will come down later on. So that implied they may stall having 4 changes. That means Sibley may get another go.
But Norman,
Crawley's out. Bairstow to 3.
Too many changes destabilise the side if they are brand new players. You're talking about bringing in players who are in and involved in the squad anyway. They're not brand new players into the team. Pope has been in the side anyway. He wasn't dropped. He was injured. So he just a natural comeback. Wood naturally rotates in and out the side because of his fitness.
Bairstow's forced his way because he was Pope's replacement.
Yeah.
He is so he's forced his way in front of Lawrence.
He batted well. He was a bit unlucky second dig, wasn't he? Absolutely nailed that ball shot. He absolutely nailed it. It got caught on the boundary. But it was, I mean, I'd be happy to play a shot as good as that. Wouldn't you, Norman? He did nail it, didn't he? Right.
All right, let's go back to then. Okay, on that basis, having heard that, and I want everybody that's listening today to go and listen to the Joe Root latest media conference because I've uploaded it. Yeah. It's already had 100 people look at it. It's worth having a look at because you'll get a lot of what we're talking about in there. Yeah. Okay, so the England side, give me your side.
I would go Burns, Hamid, Bairstow, Root, Pope, Butler at 6, Ali at 7, Wood, Robinson at 8, Wood, Broad, Anderson.
Okay.
That's what I would do. Now I think Bairstow's probably batting a little bit high at 3. However, what he will do is take it to the Indian bowling. I think we need to take the pressure a little bit off Hamid. It's not as though he's the second coming here. Everyone's talking about.
Well, can I suggest this?
400.
Can I suggest this? Why wouldn't you have, based on what you've just said?
Yeah.
Wouldn't Bairstow be better value than to open?
No, he's not an opener. He doesn't. He's never.
He's not an opener. He's played opener before.
No, never. No, he's ever opened
in the Test match.
No, I don't think so.
And the 75 Test matches he's played.
Don't think so. It's not an opening bat. I would be amazed if he's ever opened the batting for England. It would have been.
He's opened the batting in the short form.
Oh yeah, but Norman, it's a completely different game.
Okay, all right. So anyway,
I don't think they'll do that. By the way, I do
think. I'm very glad Lawrence is going because I think he really doesn't do any good for them. Plus, his fielding's really bizarre. I don't like his fielding. So look, to me, you're right. I rather like what you've said. The only thing is maybe Hamid may not go in at this point. It may not happen just yet. Okay. The other three changes. Mo and Ali's definitely playing.
Yeah. Because that
Joe Root
to balance the side, Norman.
But Joe Root basically said that he's playing effectively.
And you're about 7. I think you'll find.
And he did talk about, and he did say very clearly about Pope. So those two are definitely back in.
Well, I think
which would mean Lawrence. It's a pity about Sam, isn't it? But isn't it a pity that Sam Curran's not playing?
Yes, but he was bowling as the fourth seamer. Okay, you can't pick him just on his batting. He was playing as the fourth seamer predominantly, who can bat. And what I think they will look at is that India's tail wagged a bit in the last test, and they're not a great tail. I know that I'm going to upset the people watching, but that tail is not a great tail, and they will bring Wood in, who bowls at 94 miles an hour when he gets it right, and they will look to blow away the Indian lower order with Mark Wood.
Yeah.
I'll be amazed if Wood doesn't play. I said this last week.
I'm not 100%. Look, there is a chance, by the way, Richard, as well. They may let Broad have a rest. They may have him rested.
In which case,
and that would mean you'd leave Sam Curran in and bring Wood.
Yes, I would. Yeah, no, I think Wood plays, and I said to you last week. I think Ali will play, and Wood will play, and Pope will play. I think I said that last week before the.
I don't. There was no discussion whatsoever. No discussion whatsoever about Sam Curran. None.
Well,
So I'm feeling as Broad.
Yeah. I see Munchie's listening, Norman. Can I just pass on my best wishes to Munchie? He got attacked by a cat, he tells me, over the weekend, and got quite seriously hurt by this cat. So he's licking his wounds, if you excuse the metaphor. So
Munchie said he should not be playing two spinners. Who are you saying? Who's the two spinners? Are you talking about England or India?
England won't play two spinners. They won't.
Lords. Okay, who's he talking about then?
India, I think he'd be talking about India, will he?
Okay, all right. Okay,
but he's a little bit discombobulated at the moment because of this attack. He got suffered by the cat.
So we're going to get. We've had a discussion about the England team. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just repeat what you said. Okay. You've said Burns and Sibley still.
Well, I think that's
Okay,
yeah,
sorry. You said okay. You said Burns, Hamid, Bairstow, Root, Pope,
Butler, Ali at 7,
Ali, and then Wood,
Robinson,
Wood, and Anderson.
Wood, Broad, Anderson.
But I think, but what I'm gathering, it'll be not Hamid in it. It will be Burns and Sibley, followed by potentially Bairstow.
Yeah.
Could Ollie Pope bat 3? No.
He could, but he won't.
Okay. All right. The only change I would see is Hamid hasn't quite got in there yet.
I think the rest is pretty much nailed on, Norman. I'll be amazed if what I've just said isn't after the two openers. It's either Hamid or Sibley. What you got to bear in mind with Sibley is that he batted for a long period with Joe Root in the second innings. And he put so much pressure on the other batsmen. Kumar Sangakkara is on the commentary team over here for Sky. Fantastic cricketer, and he's a brilliant analyst of the game. And what he was saying was, and he was exactly right, when you're batting as a pair, you bat in as a tandem partnership. And at some stages of your innings, you're not quite timing it right. And that's when the other guy takes the pressure off you by scoring a few runs, and you can just find your touch again. And it's very much about not routine, but having a rhythm to your innings. And the problem is with bloody Dom Sibley, he's got no rhythm. He doesn't score any bloody runs. So poor Joe Root was having to do it all on his own. And he would know that because he was doing it. And he must have hated it. I used to hate it if a guy at the other end was playing maiden after maiden.
All right. Well, let's talk about that a bit later, more about that. But the reality, let's leave that for the moment. But the conversation that concerns me most about this, to be honest with you, that England have reacted to the first test the way it went, and they've changed it, making quite the word wholesale is not true, but they are making quite a number of changes.
Yeah.
You know what?
Only one outside the squad, Norman. Only one.
But hang on, it's not about whether they're in the squad or out of the squad. Doesn't matter. They're making changes.
Yeah.
Honestly, that sets a mood of panic. It looks that way. It does. Okay, and you can't deny that. In any test series,
it'll be seen as that.
I'm not saying it is, but it will be perceived that way.
Like that. It will be.
And it'll actually in some ways, will play into the hands of India a little bit. Okay.
Yeah. And even though the media would agree on these changes, they'll still portray it as panic. Even though that's what they want, they'll still.
But you see, but if he's going to make potentially 3 player changes and then a number of positional changes, which he will. He'll move Butler, as you said, Bairstow, etc. That is a substantial amount of change, especially to the batting order. Not so much the bowling, because bowling that can happen. But I'll just repeat what David Graveney said. He said a true selector would not make that many changes. Okay, and I talked about Neil Harvey. He talked about people in his era and post that era. You don't do that. This smacks of not Ashley Giles or anyone else. It actually smacks of Silverwood's changing with Root. Now, I'm not saying it's bad. But let's just say that goes horribly wrong in the second test. Does the third test mean another 3 or 4 changes? Then you've got serious problems.
Yes.
Okay? Take your England pride hat off and be honest. That is, I'm just saying to you, that's really bad. It is really bad. Because the potential here is if it goes skew with, right? Okay, if it goes skew with, and Ali gets belted out of the ground and doesn't perform well because he's raw because he hasn't that much experience lately as a red ball cricket, it could go very much a haywire. So my concern is, and I mean this quite honestly, if I'm being really tough on the selectors, I would only change 1 to 2. The one would be Lawrence out and Moeen Ali in. Okay, and maybe Wood. That's it. That's what I would do.
No Pope.
Not that I'm a fan of Crawley. I'm not saying that, but I think you would have to consider 1 to 2 changes being enough in any side. And the media talked about destabilisation. And my word of warning is that they probably would be better doing that in this test match. Okay, I really think that maybe. By the third test match, they can consider changes of a more dramatic note. But at the moment, it is way unfair, even to Crawley. I dare say to Lawrence, but I don't think much of him. But even Sibley, it's a little bit early for any of them because they've been given, and they even said yet again, another question was to destabilisation by bringing too many players in. The other comment was they allowed a change to be made, then you just don't keep changing. You have to keep stability. Now, when you are selecting, so what's happened from a week ago to now? Why didn't you have Moeen Ali before, for example? Why did you have Sibley in there? Why did you have Lawrence in there? In all fairness to Lawrence, Sibley, and Crawley, they really should give them 2 tests.
But Norman, hold your horses. Let me.
I'm talking about selection panel 101 here. Selection panel 101.
You're saying they're making loads of changes. They're not. Insofar that, bear with me, if Pope had recovered from his injury, he would have played in the first test anyway instead of Lawrence. Lawrence only played because Pope
it was Bairstow. It was Bairstow.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I think that Lawrence was for Pope. In my opinion, I think Bairstow was coming in at number 5 anyway.
It was actually stated that it was that. It was actually stated that.
Well,
they actually did state, and I repeat, they stated so Bairstow was coming for Pope's
They would have
injury.
played Lawrence and Pope 5 and 6. I don't think they would. I don't agree with you.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. The reality.
And Wood, bear with me. Wood is a natural in and out. They rotate him in.
Would I accept?
Anyway. Okay, so that's 2 natural changes that they would have done anyway, probably for this test. So we're only talking about potentially Moeen Ali coming in, and the reason he's come in is because of the Stokes injury, which took them all a little bit, or Stokes withdrawal, which took them a little bit off guard.
I think they're going to make too many changes.
I like the side more than
because
I suggested.
But it's not just person being replaced; it's positional changes as well.
Okay,
all right. Let's turn our mind just for a moment. We'll just leave England there for a moment. Let's go to India for a moment.
One last point, Norman. One very last point. Zach Crawley, since he got 267 against Pakistan last year, has played at least 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to say 10 tests, and he's averaging 10 in 10 tests.
Well,
how many tests you give him before you drop him?
You know what? Then I'm going to put this to you. If they've dropped Crawley for the second test, then he shouldn't have been in the first test either.
They like him. They like the look of him. They're giving.
Well, if they like him, they're going to put him for two tests.
Got to go.
Okay, all right.
He's got to go.
I agree to disagree. I think they're making too many changes.
Yeah.
On the other hand, India, I can assure you, will not be bringing back Agarwal to play, even though he was out because of injury.
Yeah, that's right.
He's missed his opportunity. KL Rahul will stay. In the case of Ishant Sharma, who was supposedly injured, he's not coming back into the side, okay? Because Siraj is staying there. That means the only real change to that test side for India will be Ashwin in and Thakur out. That's it. And I like that. I'm impressed with India if they do that. I really am.
Yeah. But however, how happy are they? Tell me, how happy are India after the first test?
Very happy.
Rahul, massive tick at opening. Kohli, no runs. Pujara, no runs. Rahane, no runs. How happy are they? 3, 4, and 5. Got nothing.
They didn't get a chance. They did not get a chance to bat a second innings. So you cannot say that.
So,
No.
Well, they didn't get any runs, Norman.
If Pujara, Rahane, and Kohli failed in the second innings, you have every right to say that. Okay?
How lucky
everyone
not to get out, by the way.
They didn't get the opportunity to do it. So, in all fairness,
was a lucky boy, Norman.
But the point is, they didn't have the. If those three had got the batting chance and had won the match, we'd be sitting here not even talking about this.
No, but I'm not saying drop them. I wasn't saying drop them.
But you can't drop a bat. No, but you can't drop a batter off after one innings. No, you can't.
No. Sorry, we're agreeing. I'm not saying drop them. I'm just saying how happy are they going into it?
I think India will be very, very frustrated with the fact that they drew the match. Okay, and the weather permitted. They'll be somewhat steeled by their performance as well because they had the ascendancy. So even though motivation has slightly swung to England because they survived, you would argue.
Yeah.
The reality is it hasn't necessarily dropped India's positivity either because they were winning. So I think all it does is it brings them slightly more level. Okay. You would argue India were here and England were here. The draws kind of leveled them a little bit. Okay. With India probably slightly ahead. And if India don't make too many changes to their team and they perform, it's an enormous situation. The problem is if England have made changes and they fail, then what happens? Okay. That means you're going to make a third set of changes into the third match?
Well, no, they won't. They'll stick with what they decide to do. They will stick.
Okay, well, but you could argue they should have done it in the first match.
Well,
and one of the journalists made it really clear. Said, "What's the difference between last week and this week? What's changed your mind?" And he struggled with that answer.
Yeah, but journalists are always the same, aren't they? They're not watching.
No, but it's a fair question.
But we're watching the cricket, aren't we? Aren't we watching the cricket? Would you not make changes?
No, but Chris Wokes was the key to this. Chris Wokes was the key to all of this because it appeared as if they wanted to have Chris Wokes play from the outset. Okay.
But if Wokes was fit, then Ali wouldn't have been drafted in. Wokes would come in at 7, give you your fourth seamer, and Leach plays. Leach is our number 1 spinner, but they can't bring Leach in because it makes the tail too long.
I think Moeen Ali's the best, as you said too, and I agree. He's the best reselection they've made.
Yeah,
okay?
He got 8 wickets in India this winter. He played in 1 test.
And he can bat.
He got 8 wickets.
And he can bat too.
Yeah, his batting's been in Test cricket. He's a bit of a hitter these days, but
yeah, but is there a possibility? And I'm just opening it up now, as opposed to Bairstow at 3, they put Ali at 3.
No chance. 0. Less than 0. No.
But he's played up the order before though.
He's opened, I think. He opened in Sri Lanka or India, maybe. But honestly, Norman, there's no hope. I'm telling you now.
Okay, just calm down. I don't need to say no hope. I just suggested it. I'm not saying it's going to happen. Okay. But the reality is, I think England would be smart. England would be smart to make 2 changes, not 3. That's my opinion. Wood, I agree with, and Molinelli, I agree with. But that's it. Lawrence is out because he's rubbish. I'm telling you, Lawrence should never be selected again. Honestly.
So no Pope.
No, hang on. Let me get that right. Yeah, I'd honestly say Pope should wait to the 3rd test. Why? Because, as I've said about, it's the same argument with Agarwal. Same argument.
Mm-hmm.
Pope and Agarwal are almost identical in terms of both being put into the first side and injured and not being in it.
Yeah.
And I'm not bringing Agarwal back. Why? Because I think Bairstow's done a good enough job for this moment to leave him in.
So
I would get rid of Lawrence.
Wood in for Norman. Just who does Wood come in for? Which seam are you leaving out for Wood? Lawrence.
Okay, I'll give you my side quickly. Okay, yeah. I think I'm quite interested for Sibley and Burns. I rather don't mind them. Crawley would probably, based on what I've just said to you, he would stay in.
Yeah.
Root would go to 4. Pope wouldn't go back in on the basis of waiting to the next test. That's my theory. Okay. I would have then Butler.
Best of 5.
Molinelli would come in for Lawrence.
Yeah. Butler at 7.
I
Robinson at 8.
Thinking ahead, I'd leave Curran in and have Broad go.
Okay. I can see a scenario where they would do that. I don't think they will do that. I'll be very surprised if Curran stays in.
But the side I've just described to you, allows Molinelli to take a replacement for Lawrence. Who quite honestly was in there, was almost going to bowl spin, but she didn't do. So Molinelli for Lawrence and Wood for Broad. That destabilises the side very little, but adds strength because of Ali. That's what I'm getting at. And it gives those opening 3 the chance to have one more crack. And if they fail again, then you've got to start to consider the changes. Okay? That's what I would do. And I really think world cricket, in tests anyway, should take a leaf out of that book where they do not chop and change teams all the time. The best example of that at the moment, not about tests necessarily, about cricket in general, is Australia. They have got an absolute bloody mess going on there. I haven't got a clue. In fact, if we go through the Australian side, which we'll a bit later, there's only 2 or 3 players that I would soundly say should stay. Honestly, maybe start
in the test team.
No, in that case, I'm talking about the T20.
Okay, sorry, yeah.
Because of the mess that happened, we've just seen. There's 8 or 9 players that shouldn't have been. Could be as many as 11 out of the squad that shouldn't be there. Okay, and Mitchell Marsh's not number 3. As far as the test team is concerned, which is down the track, of course, from now. Having seen Warner today, he has to be careful. He really has to be careful because he just can't assume he'll be selected all the time. A guy like Trevor Bayliss has worked him out and dropped him playing for the Sunrise Hyderabad. Different format, I know. But they shouldn't just expect to be back on that test side. Do you understand that? They need to prove themselves in the domestic level of cricket, which goes on before. So, because even Matthew Wade stupidly said, I'm going to go back to Australia now, and we're going to play really well in domestic cricket and get back to the World Cup. What domestic cricket is winter, you idiot? What domestic? What, indoor cricket or something? What is he talking about? That was the most asinine comment. Oh, I want to go back and play domestically. He won't have time because domestic cricket doesn't start until late September. When's the World Cup? Late September, October. What's he talking about?
Very, very quickly, before, can we just very quickly divert to the second to last comment from Sangavi Ragavi on the screen? If I know I'm interrupting you, I want to put this to bed. I want to absolutely Sangavi Ragavi. It's all in capital letters. It's about 3 up. So I just want to put this to bed, and I want everyone to listen. For the last time, I'm going to say this: Hasid Hamid is not being treated because he's not English born. He's played Test cricket. He did well. He then started to bat very poorly. In 18 first-class games for Lancashire, he averaged 9. He went into the second team and got no runs. He lost his contract for Lancashire, and he found another county, which is Notts. This is over the last 4 years. He has been scoring no runs, getting nothing. As soon as he started to find some form, which was this summer in April, England straight away drafted him back into the setup. He's been in and around the test squad all summer. This has got nothing to do with race or where he was born. They like him. We've said this before, Norman, haven't we? They like this player. As soon as he found some runs in county cricket, straight back in. So I've got to tell you, that comment about him being treated differently because he's not born in England is absolute rubbish.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Over 18
Okay.
matches.
All right. Okay. Calm down. You're getting like Alan with there.
But I hate this. The race question.
Just let it go. That's not worth it. No, I understand. The reality is,
he's a good player.
He's a great player. I mean, I wish I could say the same thing about Usman Khawaja, but I'm afraid he's been given a bit of a raw deal in Australia. I'll tell you now.
Got no bottle, Norman. Got no bottle. Can't hack it, Khawaja. That's why he's not playing.
It's interesting how probably I understand there's no Petrush. That's cute. A little 14-year-old. Upan, hello, Upan. He is here. Hello, so I'm late today. Have you talked about New Zealand squad for the World Cup? No, we haven't. Bangers and thanks.
I haven't seen the New Zealand squad for the World Cup. I haven't seen it. Let's not jump around. Let's go back to the core activity we're talking about, which is Australia versus Bangladesh. Yeah.
And the team there, and England versus India.
Okay.
The New Zealand squad we'll talk about, but in all honesty, the New Zealand squad is a long way from being a relevant discussion because the World Cup's still a mile away, and it's not really going to be important to this conversation to produce. We'll talk about that maybe another day. Okay, I don't really want to put the New Zealand squad in detail unless we've got time. It's kind of okay. It's just been released, but it doesn't mean anything at the moment because we're not in World Cup fever, really. So let's not. Yeah. The only question was around Australia. Why? Because they have just been beaten 4-1 twice by West Indies and Bangladesh, and that is their last match before they play against in the World Cup. That is significant. And the more important thing is the stupidity of Matthew Wade, as I said earlier, saying, "Oh, we're going to go home for 2 weeks." In 2 weeks, well, he's going to be quarantined for 2 weeks, which means it'll be almost the end of August. Then he's going to play domestic cricket. There won't be enough time for domestic cricket. Domestic cricket won't be underway until late September when they're going to be going off to. So that's a complete.
I mean, it was an Australian B team, Norman, wasn't it? They had at least 6 players that you'd suspect will be giving a sniff missing. Didn't they?
No.
Surely.
No, this is their. It does honestly. That's a poor excuse for their form.
Well, but it is an excuse, surely. It is an excuse, surely. They have players.
No, I refuse to accept that because these people were picked. Most of these players played against New Zealand early in the year too, which was the only differences are Aaron Finch. The true differences: Aaron Finch, Maxwell, perhaps Warner and Stones. They're the only 4 that really would have been included for sure.
Yeah, but 4 players, Norman. That's your heart.
Yeah,
side, isn't it? Steve Smith.
Yeah, but
it's got a Smith.
I'm not going to discount the fact that Dave Warner could have went. Why didn't he go? So I find that a failing. Okay, it's a team squad. So it wasn't the squad saying, "Oh no, Warner, you stay back. Stones, you stay back. Smith, you stay back." That's not what happened.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can't argue on the basis of that. That's when you talk about A and B sides. When you deliberately don't select someone and tell them to stay home. That's not what happened. Individual players said that. So, no. I've got no excuse to this. It was abysmal. And then the West Indies, they seem to play the 50 over better. See, Mitchell Marsh is an interesting one. He won't be batting 3 for the World Cup. There's no way. But he's been drafted in there. If they actually think that he should be number 3, we've got real problems. If Matthew Wade thinks he's in there and is going to be anywhere near the captaincy or opening up the batting, we've got real problems. They're the 2 players that should not be anywhere near those positions if it's the best World Cup side. Okay? You would have to bat Warner with, in my opinion, Warner and Finch should open the batting. The other person that's not being mentioned is Labuschagne.
But in sort of form, he's not really a T20 player, is he, Norman?
Well, isn't he playing your Vitality Blast at the moment?
Yeah, because he's one of the world's best players. Doesn't mean you're necessarily an international.
But then why wasn't he in the Australian T20 squad?
But I just assume they don't see him as a T20 player. I
tell you, I'm not a big fan of Labuschagne, to be real honest with you. But the second to that is he's better than most of the guys.
His stats don't lie, do they?
I can have my opinion. Okay. The reality is that he simply is better than some of the players that were there. The people that disappointed me the most about that Australian side was Moses Enriques. I feel he should be there. But I'll tell you who's going to be is Dan Christian. Dan Christian's going to stay in that squad. He's quality, even though he's not young. Okay.
We've had some amazingly varied comments here. Imran Khan seems to wants you to ask you why Australian umpires are cheating all the time, which is nonsense. Because umpires can't cheat anymore because of the DRS system. They just get shown up for poor decisions. They get overturned.
All umpires, they're paid, honestly, they're paid so well. They're people of integrity. They have no financial need to be crooked in any way. Yeah. I can assure you they're not.
The English umpire who's been doing this series and the last series, and I think he did the World Cup final as well, and his name escapes me, he's brilliant. He hardly gets anything wrong. He's been absolutely superb. And of course, they're going to make some mistakes. A ball just flicking a leg bail, or do you know what I'm saying? Hits you a millimetre outside off stump. That's really hard. But, generally the umpiring's pretty good worldwide, isn't it, at the moment?
I think so.
Mistakes are made. So, I think the umpiring, with the DRS as it is, the DRS.
Okay, but Richard, don't dwell on the comment. If you don't agree with it, don't dwell on it. Just make that.
No, I just think it was a sad thing to write.
Okay. Virat will score his first century at Lords. You know what? This is something that I would love to see happen.
Who? Sorry, Norman. Which player?
Virat Kohli. I would love to see score a century at Lords. Why? Because it's great theatre. It's great for cricket. It's great for Indian cricket, and it's a worthy thing that he has to do. I would love to see him get that position.
However, he's been out of the runs, Norman. It's hard. He's a quality player.
But you know what? If he gets through those first 4 or 5 overs against the bowling, watch out.
Yeah,
because he'll be uber. What's the word? Uber dedicated to them. Uber. What's the word? He'd be so determined to do that.
But he hasn't scored 100 for 3 years, I think.
I don't want to hear that. That's not true. But he also scored 27 centuries. He scored 70 centuries. So I don't subscribe to the argument he hasn't scored in 3 years. I want to look at him and his overall record is he scored 27 Test centuries. Root, who's played longer, has scored 6 Test centuries less. Explain that to me.
I've got a stat for you, Norman. Hold on.
But hang on. No, answer my question first. You just said he hasn't scored 3 years. You know what? They should thank God he hasn't, because if he did, he would have broken all sorts of records. The reality is he has scored 6 centuries more than Root. 6 more, okay, and has played nowhere near as long. So I don't have anything. I look at that as a stat, and that to me tells you you've got a player that's quality.
Yeah, it's one of the best players ever to have played, without a doubt. One of the best.
But forgetting the 3 years, wouldn't it be superb if he'd got that century?
Yes, I think the celebrations will be good. As an Englishman, I don't really want to see it, but as a neutral, it'll be a lovely innings to watch, because whenever Virat Kohli scores runs, they're lovely to watch. I mean, Root the other day.
Let's be honest. Forgetting your bias for England, you would like to see it, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Yes, from a cricket point of view, of course I would.
Yeah.
Most Test runs since 2010 to today, Norman. Here's your stat. So in the last 11 years, who's scored the most Test runs, do you think?
I'm going to say Root.
8,834. Second, Cook, 8,800. Third, Kohli, 7,500. Fourth, Smith, 7,500. Fifth, Warner, 7,300. Now, I'd suggest that Root's probably played more games in that time, but India played plenty of Tests as well. So Root's got 1,300 more runs than Kohli in the last 11 years of Test cricket.
Yeah, but he has played up to 20 Tests more.
Very possibly. Yeah, I didn't.
So that's one thing I don't understand. England seem to get a lot more Test matches, don't they? Especially in England. You play at Lords twice, don't you?
Well, yeah, bear with me. I'm just going to get my screen back on. Yeah, I mean, there's a reason, isn't there? There's 2 reasons. One, Test cricket is alive and well in this country, as you know, whereas in other parts...
I would love to see 2 Test matches at SCG. I would love it.
Yeah.
I would love it.
And two, everyone wants to play England at Test cricket. They're in massive demand because they bring a load of travelling support with them wherever they go. So it's great for the economies of Sri Lanka and Bangladesh because the fans come in and they bring revenues into the country. So it's a double-edged sword, and we do play a lot of Test cricket. The grounds here.
But I mean, I'm saying to you, you play 2 games at Lords.
Yes.
What I'm getting at is why this. I have to argue why. I'm talking generally here. Why don't we play 2 Test matches at SCG? Why don't we just play the MCG? I don't know that answer that question.
We only play 2 at Lords because we usually have two visiting tourists every year, and both.
Well, okay. On that basis, then we've got Afghanistan coming in. Not a big side, but I would love to see them play at the SCG. Why are we playing them in Hobart, for God's sake?
Well, that's we understand that's why we play two games at Lords.
No, but I'm just saying to you that Australia, should utilise the best grounds in the world, as do England. And I mean, you only play 1 Test match at the SCG in the entire year. That's pretty sad, isn't it? Really.
How many visiting sides do you normally get playing more than 1 Test, though? I mean,
I've just said England, and now we've got Afghanistan. So,
but it's only 1 Test.
But we could have easily had them play 2 tests. But anyway, it's not happening.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So we will talk about New Zealand World Cup maybe a bit later. Bangladesh, Pakistan. I mean, for God's sake, that'll be an interesting series. I was particularly impressed with the Bangladesh players, even though they're on their home ground. The last match, they absolutely, and I'll give it to Matthew Wade. He did say very clearly that the Bangladeshi seam bowlers bowled sensationally, and their spinners. And Shakil Al-Hussain took his 100th T20 wicket and has scored more than 1,000 T20 runs. He's the only person who's done that. Okay, pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive. No wonder he was pretty much always rated the best all-rounder. You've got to give him credit where credit's due. He's also been away for 12 months on some ridiculous banning, right? He apparently got a WhatsApp message and didn't declare that he got it. Doesn't mean anything.
About what, from a bookie or a?
There was a bookie or somebody who tried to influence him by a WhatsApp message, right? And what he did do, he ignored it. But what he failed to do was tell the Bangladeshi board that he received the text message, the WhatsApp message. Now he got 12 months for that. That's pretty damn tough. He didn't do anything about it. He didn't do anything.
Well, so you have to wonder what we're not being told necessarily, Norman, don't you?
No. Hang on. It's fact. It's pretty much fact that it's proven that he didn't say anything. So what it means is he still did cover the incident without doing anything about it. So I would argue he deserved to be fined or something, but not 12 months out of the game. There's more and more a comment that I'm finding, forgetting cricket from it, in all sport, when you start to ban players from a game, what you're actually doing is damaging the team they play for and the spectator's viewpoint of what they want to see of this player. I think we've got to remember those factors. It's not only about punishing the player. If you punish the club and the fans, does it really have that effect? I don't think so. I actually think, even I have to argue, even though I don't think much of what happened, even with Warne, Smith and Bancroft, they got a pretty heavy sentence too. But that's not where the problem was with those 3. They have not learnt their lessons. In particular, Warne, as I said, he's still carrying on like a pork chop and doing things wrong and disobeying, and he hasn't learned his lesson. Smith's gone a bit quiet, but Bancroft's banished. He never played cricket again for Australia. I don't think, certainly on Test level. So.
Mr. Imran Khan on our chat, I absolutely did answer one of your previous questions. I addressed it directly and gave you a full answer. I'm not Australian. I'm English.
Well, can I answer this? I'll answer it.
Yeah.
There were certainly issues that related to matters that happened in Australia with Siraj. Okay, and there are also issues apparently in the English crowd with Siraj again. It's been well documented. Okay, the only problem is that Siraj is a bit of a back chatter, and he might have. It's not his fault though. It's not his fault. But he may have reacted to the comment. And the only bit of advice that I would give Siraj is, even if a comment's done in horrible conditions and horrible nature, you have to ignore it while in front of it and talk about it outside of there. But why? Because people are funny creatures. It's like what I'm talking about here. When I get a bad message here, as I did this other guy, I don't even talk about the person.
I think it'd be fair to say that if Imran Khan calls either me or you a racist, again, for no reason at all, I would just ignore him. He can put his comments up if he likes.
Well, but hang on.
would
Richard, don't
know
lose
that's
me,
not the
mate.
case.
Listen to me, Richard. Don't even mention his name. Don't even talk about it.
Just so annoys me, Norman. Just so
Richard, you're on my show. These are the rules. You don't mention the person's name, okay? Because you're acknowledging them.
Yeah,
okay?
No worries. Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and my favourite part of the last test was the Siraj Curran 20 minutes. What? Tell me Test cricket's dead when you see Siraj coming in, giving it to Curran, plenty of verbals, Curran standing up, giving it to him back a bit. It was absolutely box office cricket. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. I love Siraj. I love that. I was a cricketer who would be known to get a little bit involved if I needed to. Not personal abuse. Never did that. But certainly a bit in your face, I think would be fair to say. And I think that's great for the game. Don't you, Norman?
Yeah. Okay, so Richard, I'm just going to let you know, do not mention any more comments that are not worth. Don't jump in and mention, okay? Don't answer it, okay? Rule number one about my show, about any show, is you ignore, okay? I'll deal with it, so leave it, okay? Aussie might even lose to Afghanistan this time around. That's, you know what? Why are you so certain of that? They look at the way they're playing. They've got Afghanistan are guns. Afghanistan's a great.
I'm a massive fan of Australian sport and cricket as a cricket person, not as an Englishman, as a guy. I've always loved watching Australia play cricket. I think they play it brilliantly well. I love the attitude. I love the in-your-faceness of it. I hate David Warner, but I love generally the Australian cricket mentality. And they're not going to be down for long. They've had a bad series.
Sujay Ganguly was. Hello, Sujay Ganguly.
They'll be back, Norman. They'll be back. You just got it wrong. You got it wrong because you're disappointed with them. But they're good.
But hang on. I'm going to be very strong about this. I think you have no right to be saying that, Warner, what he did in the IPL a few months ago, where he went to town and didn't mention the 4 new players in his side, Trevor Bayliss very swiftly acted on and dropped him. Not only as captain from the team.
I've got no time for David Warner at all. But that's because I'm English.
But if we have to, I don't like Australia saying, "Oh, we need Warner back, we need Smith back." Well, actually, we're going to come to terms with the fact that there may not be able, or Warner will never captain. Smith may well never captain as well. And I do respect Justin Langer for one thing he has said recently, or early in the year, when there was all that talk about Smith getting back in as captain and pledging to be captain. Langer came out very quickly and promptly and said, "What selection? I've not heard anything about this. Tim Payne's captain, that's it." I rather felt strongly about that. It was a very good thing to say, okay? Because players have no right to be going out and talking about pledging to be captain when they're not being selected.
Yeah.
And no one knocks Smith as a player. He's brilliant, great player, but his captaincy has been tainted forever because of Sandpaper Gate. Okay, he was at the helm of that team when they made that mess.
Yeah,
he can't excuse it.
I agree, Norman. I don't think it's going to be a tough sell to bring him back as captain. That's what I think. I think he wants to come back, and I think he's been making all the right noises. But
he's not making the right noises because he comes out with 2 young kids in the park and sitting with Ben Horn as the journalist and starts saying, "I'm pledging."
That's all the right noises, isn't it? Isn't that what you do?
I tell you what, all the public who saw that laughed at that. Thought, "What's he doing?"
Yeah. I've said my piece on Sandpaper Gate. I do not believe, having someone who sat in cricket dressing rooms for over 35 years, that everyone didn't know what was going on. I absolutely, in my heart, think that everyone knew to a greater or lesser extent, Norman, that what was happening, including Smith, I do not believe it was just Warner and Bancroft. I've been in dressing rooms; they don't work like that.
But that's not the point, though.
No,
That's
but
not the
everyone else
point.
got away with it, even though they were
What
probably.
do you mean the whole team should have been banned?
No, no.
Okay.
But I think
The
reality
reality is that Stark, Hazelwood, Cummins, and Lyon were not talking to Warner at all at that stage.
Yeah.
They completely disowned him.
Good.
Okay. There was huge issues. So in fact, it was the complete opposite. They completely. If the whole and I haven't got a.
Was that a reason, Norman? Was that one of the reasons they weren't talking to him? Do you think?
That was the reason.
That wasn't the first time that it happened, by the way. We know that.
But look,
it'll all come out.
Hang on a minute. No one has saying that Lyon went, "Oh my God, I didn't know what was going on." No one said that. The reality is they probably did all know, but it was not up to them to come out and say anything. It was up to the captain, the person who did it, and the person who put the plans together. Those people were the ones, and the coach. Lehman ended up going. Okay.
Yeah.
Sutherland went. Pat Howard went.
Yeah.
A buckload of people. So they've all gone. Okay.
Yeah, but other
reality
players in the team turned around and said they.
So we're not going to sack them because they knew about it. That's not. Hang on a minute. Lyon can't come out from the back and go, "I knew about it. I knew."
Yeah.
That's what
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
No, but hang on. It's not the point. It's got nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Okay.
As I told you, that the entire bowling lineup were livid.
Yeah.
They refused to talk to Warner before, during, and after the whole thing. It was a mess. Okay. He was already on a bad stage, going back to the incident that he had with de Kock. I think in the dressing rooms outside, he was already at each other's throats then, which led up to this incident. In fact,
it was weird, wasn't it? There was something going on, wasn't there? Big time.
But see, de Kock and Warner and the like, right? I actually truly believe Warner was fueled to do something with the ball based on the whole de Kock incident. I think that gave him his reason to go, "Let's guys, we're going to attempt." I reckon it perpetrated. It made him do it. It would have been the torch that was lit. He was already. I'll tell you what. Warner's a real junkyard dog. He scraps. Okay, we know that, and I can assure you, the niceties of Cummins, Stark, Hazelwood, and Lyon. They're really not. They're all nice blokes. All four of them are really, really nice blokes. They would have been disturbed having Warner carry on the way he does. Okay, and Smith was gutless and not taking action.
Yeah. But what I'm trying to say, Norman, is I think that it had been going on for more tests and more games than.
That's not relevant to this.
Well, the first time
end up with the same results. You can't get rid of the whole team because they all knew about it.
No, I wouldn't get rid of the whole team.
I can assure you, the four bowlers and Warner were at each other's throats. They were disgusted him. Okay, and the destabilising nature of what he did ruined Australian cricket for a good 12 months. Okay, and it probably has never recovered.
Yeah.
And Tim Payne's done a great job to try and save the whole thing. Justin Langer's tried his guts out to save everything, and it's just not gotten any better. Matthew Wade, there's something about Matthew Wade that puts something wrong on that side. He was. Go and listen to
him, Norman.
No. Okay, well, you listen to his press conference.
I saw his press conference. I think he didn't do himself any favours. I don't think. When you've got hammered, you've been hammered. You've got a degree of humbleness, haven't you?
He had no idea how to handle it. No idea. Alex Carey would have handled it better, and that's why he should be captain.
Yeah.
Actually, Tim Payne. You know what? You got to keep thinking highly of him in comparison. You really do, because he came through a very bad period.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I like Tim Payne. I think we've got a lot of respect in this country for Tim Payne.
I am Alex Charter, who thinks Warner's a good man. I'm sorry, I can't.
Entitled to your opinion, aren't you? I was going to say
he does warm to the. But hang on a minute. He does warm to the Indian crowd very well. Generally, he does a pretty good job at warming to the Indian crowd. He gets on TikTok and on his thing that does all these little bits and pieces. He knows how to win them over, to be honest with you. And he has done very well in the IPL with the Sunrise Hyderabad back in 16, 17, whatever it was. He's done some very, very good things. which Indian cricket do like about him. But then even as recently as a few months ago, he did a very bad thing. So there's a bit of a up and down nature to him. And I can understand why the Indian public do like it, because he's box office. Okay.
I'm not sure he's loved over.
So let's move on. Let's not. Okay. I want you, Richard, like me, not to tear into the questions.
Okay.
Something which is annoying us, just ignore it. Okay.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
no, absolutely. There's a lot of talk about Hamid's technique and the technique of the England top three on the as we've been talking. I haven't seen Hamid bat. I've got to be honest, not for 5 years, pretty much. So,
I saw him play the trial match, and he looked particularly good.
Yeah, sure he does, and that's why he's back in the side or in the squad. I hate Burns and Sibley's technique. Crawley, you can't have a go at Crawley for technique, because he actually looks very good. He looks like a very typical English batsman of technique. He's tall and he plays a lovely cover drive, doesn't he? And a nice flick of his legs. He's just getting out, and that's probably a mental thing. He needs a break. He needs to get away from it all, go back to his county, and just have a chance to reset a bit. I think Zach, he's a young lad. He's young. You know, he's got plenty of chance. You know, it's this stupidity that these days that people think you get dropped, and that's the end of your career. Norman, it's not. It's absolutely, yeah, I agree. David Gower got dropped from England side. Graham Gooch got dropped. I know you mentioned that the other day. Played his first test in 1975, got 2 noughts, and didn't play again for 4 years. 4 years, and then came back as one of our greatest ever players. Gatting got. Joe Root was dropped not that long ago from the test side. You know, you get dropped, you become a better player, and you come back again. So, you know, it's not a bad thing. Young Zach, he's got plenty of time on his side. I think you go to Australia, by the way, Norman. I'll be amazed if Crawley isn't in the squad to go to Australia.
I'm gonna say this for the sake of Sibley and Crawley. In my opinion, they need to play in the Lord's Test. And as I maintain again, that Moeen Ali is going to come in. It's almost been stated by Root, and I hope it's Lawrence that goes. Okay, and they leave. And if they're going to bring Pope in, I would not bring Pope in, not because he's not good enough, but just to allow the players that have replaced him to have 2 tests, because there's still 3 tests to go. You know, I don't know. Does that make sense? Why I'm saying it?
Yeah, absolutely. Mass changes are always a sign of weakness. A solid side is a sign of strength, isn't it?
Because no, I really think they've got to be wary of that.
Yeah, but they've got to do
India
something.
should take that. I would like to see both teams unchanged, other than the Wood inclusion and an Ashwin inclusion. That's it. I really honestly would like.
Ali will play. Definitely, Moeen will play.
That's what I'm saying. The only change will be Moeen Ali and maybe Wood. That's it. And then
I think Pope will play. I think Lawrence goes. I think Ali comes in for Curran, and Wood will play. I'll be
okay. But do you understand my point? Do you understand my point?
You're making a really good point. You're making a point that I would wholeheartedly agree with if we weren't so bloody useless. You can't leave that top 3. You just can't.
Well, see, this is where the problem's going to start with, and I think David Graveney alluded to it without saying it. Not having a chairman of selectors truly anymore, and having the coach Silverwood making decisions leads to a lot more what I would call chopping and changing.
Yes, but we had a chairman of selectors back in the winter when all this was going on as well. I mean, they've been pretty rubbish for a long time.
I mean, a good chairman of selectors.
Well, David Graveney was the best chairman of selectors we've ever had, I think.
Well, he said, and I agree with it, and Neil Harvey, who's one of the best Australia's ever had, you pick a team, a squad, yes, but you pick a side and you pick them for the entire 5 tests at your maximum, or at least 2 tests at least, and the players have to truly fail to be considered to be dropped. If they're already failing, if Crawley was not good enough to play the first test, he shouldn't have played the first test.
I understand.
The moment you will. Another thing is, if a player gets injured and is replaced, and that replacement player plays really well, there is a chance that the player that was injured doesn't get a go. Okay, there's an element of fairness to that too.
Yeah, but the game has changed since Harvey's day, I think, and England have made it very clear that with their bowling lineup, Mark Wood is one of our best bowlers.
Okay,
I
better make this clear. We're talking predominantly about the batting lineup.
Yeah.
Bowlers, you can make changes due to injury or conditions. Yes. But the batting lineup?
We spoke, Norman, on shows before the first Test match, and I would have said to you that I do not rate Sibley. He wouldn't be in my side. I would have definitely had Milan in my squad, and that gives you a chance to look at Milan if you need to, and I would have found a different opener. Now, whether it's Hamid or not, Hamid's come back into the frame this summer. How they find another opener if it wasn't Hamid, I don't know, but he's got to play.
The Sun and Race, we're talking about the English series. We are talking about the English series. What are you talking about? We are talking about
We've talked about it a lot.
Okay.
You know,
all right.
It's just, I think we've got ourselves in a hole and we're being stubborn. I think continuity, like you were saying, is good, and that you get a better side if you have continuity, but you can also be too stubborn. And if anyone can tell me they look at Don Sibley and think he's a Test player, I hate it. I hate seeing us look like that. It's rubbish.
Okay.
I just can't bear it. He can't play a shot, Norman. He can't play a bloody cricket shot.
Okay, all right. But I'm just saying to you that the England selection panel have picked him for the first Test. They should give him a second Test. Okay?
Yes. Your point of view, I wish he didn't play in the first Test. There you go.
If England make too many changes to the second Test team, they will not win. I'm sorry. They will not win. They may be better off in the third Test once the team's gelling, maybe. But they will not win the second Test if they make too many changes, especially with batting order. So I maintain that Sibley, Crawley and Burns should stay, at least for this Test.
Okay.
And then if Pope's going to come in and Bairstow stays, which he probably will, then Lawrence is the one to go.
Yeah, that's too slot. You can't. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, Ali has to come in for someone, doesn't he? So yeah.
It's a hard one, isn't it? I mean,
yeah,
again,
it is.
I'm saying to you that I wouldn't put Pope back in.
Yeah, well, I think Joe Root, from what you were saying on the interview you watched, just as we came on air, he was pretty much saying.
I'm going off the impression I got from the questions asked of Joe Root. Moeen emphatically in. Yeah. There was no discussion about Mark Wood, by the way, but Moeen was definitely in. Pope sounds like he's back in.
Yeah, I think.
Hamid, the way he said he was more talking down the track, third, fourth, he actually did fourth, fifth Test, which makes sense. Which means to me they're probably not going to destabilise the top three. And you know what? I hate to say this. It may be that Bairstow and Lawrence go and Pope goes in Valley. It could well be that Bairstow's the one that gets the flick. Not because he's not good enough, but I'm just saying to you, in all fairness, that would be a less of a destabilising team structure because the top four batters stay. Okay? And Pope comes in with Ali at a later stage. That's probably the most, I'm trying to employ those thoughts in my mind because I believe that's what teams should do. And
it's a brilliant thing to discuss.
Us as commentators do have an effect. People do listen. People do think that way. And you've got to be fair. You've got to be fair.
Yeah.
You've got to establish a team structure. India, hats off to them because they haven't dropped Rahane and Pujara, and for that matter, even Kohli earlier because of the so-called lack of form. They've stuck by them. You know what? That's really good.
If they don't score runs at Lords, if Pujara and Rahane struggle a little bit again, I think we'll be having, in 2 weeks' time, we'll be having this discussion, but around the Indian side maybe. Don't you? I think they're under big pressure, those two.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know whether it'll happen in the third Test either. I'm just hear me out, okay? I actually don't think even India are contemplating changing their team that much, especially if they win the second Test.
It was say they it's a draw.
Hang on. I know where you're going. Let me get to that before you get.
Yeah.
Imagine Rahane and Kohli, Pujara, whatever, any combination you want to mention, failed.
Kohli's not in the argument. He's playing.
No. But I'm just saying, say if some of those batters fail that we've just mentioned,
yeah,
but they win the match,
yeah,
yet again they won't drop them.
No, but that's not always. You see, Owen Morgan's brilliant when he at this, isn't he? He says, win, lose or draw, we analyse what we could have done better, and we react and we try and learn and get better. You cannot, just because you got the you never change a winning side is a flawed argument. The best sides, the winningest sides are the ones that see a problem from a distance out and react and change accordingly. And I'm not saying they should.
I don't agree. I'm afraid I don't agree. Okay, so I don't agree. I think that they will not. I'm just saying it again. If India win the second Test match, there'll be no changes. Okay.
So if India win at Lords and win at Headingley, right? If India go 2-0 up, win at Lords, win at Headingley, and Pujara's gone 0-0, 8-0 in the next 4 innings, you're saying to me that you wouldn't, because they're winning, you wouldn't drop him?
No. I think what you're doing is but you're painting me into a corner. I'm telling you the truth. I would not change the team.
Okay.
I maintain. I go back to a Greg Chappell scoring 7 ducks in a row.
Yeah.
Okay. And he had a batting. I'm sure he had a batting average and batting number of runs, as does Pujara now. Pujara scored 6,000 runs and 18 centuries. I'm pretty sure that Greg Chappell would have been something like that as well. So I'm just wary of that. Pujara has won and done well too many games. He, unfortunately or fortunately, deserves a fair run. Rahane is probably the one I would say in most danger, not Pujara. Rahane is in more danger. Okay, if I'm being honest.
Right. I agree. I'm playing a bit of devil's advocate to you, Norman.
No, don't do that. Don't play devil's advocate. Richard, you shouldn't always play devil's advocate because that's not really healthy. You should do it when you're
good for discussion.
The reality is that the Indian team are a lot more stable than we give credit to, and they've been stable for a long time. I take my hat off to some of the ways they've resisted from change, and Kohli said this is the template to win. I love that because he acknowledges Siraj and Thakur in his squad now more so, and he acknowledges Rahul. And actually, Agarwal is not going to get back into this team.
No.
At this stage.
So
Agarwal's missed his opportunity.
What would you do for the Test? Are they going to? I think they're going to play Ashwin. Let's go with the scenario that they're going to play Ashwin. Who's your Shadal's missing out? Thakur, you think? That's just one straight change, yeah? Yeah. I wonder if that's the best call they can make. We'll see. I mean, who knows? I just wonder if you need the 4 seamers. I think it's a heavy workload for Brummer and Shami and Siraj.
See, both Ishant Sharma and Agarwal were not selected in the first Test because of so-called injuries. They're going to miss the opportunity in the second Test. They're going to be considered for the third. That's done. So,
do you think 3 seamers is enough?
Siraj, Shami, and Bumrah, and the way India wants to play it, in their opinion, because it's Lords and they say it will spin, is to bring Ashwin in with Jadeja. But that's their decision.
For Jadeja.
Sorry?
For Jadeja, you think?
No. With Jadeja.
Yeah, okay. But my question is, do you not think that only 3 seamers is a risk?
Yes, it is. I would also argue England going with 4 bowlers and no other bowlers was a risk. Huge risk. Yeah. Because imagine if India were batting on day 4. Let's just turn the table around, and they had 300 plus. England's 4 bowlers would have been on their last legs. They would have liked to have had a 5th bowler come in.
Yeah. I mean, they look at Root as a bit more than a part timer. He's a little bit better than that.
Inexcusable. He shouldn't be their first change. He shouldn't be the 5th bowler.
No, but he didn't bowl. So yeah, I know. Yeah, I agree. We generally got him with just 4 bowlers.
India will
it's the Stokes problem. Without Stokes, we can't balance it. that's how. So we
Mo
got
and Ali's in there. Mo and Ali's in there to do it. I feel a bit sorry for Sam Curran because if he doesn't play, I don't think that's fair to him. But anyway, I hope England don't change the top order for this match, because let's just say that Sibley and Crawley left in and actually excel, especially Crawley, then it would be the best thing they ever did. Correct?
Yeah. And if they don't excel, they both get 0, 0, 0, 0, then it's the worst thing they've ever done. It's all.
But then again, then that'll make it. Then they'll have they'll have a line in the sand to draw. Then they're out.
If one of them gets a score, then the chairman of selectors or the coach will turn around and say, "We stuck with the player. We gave a continuity. Aren't we the best?" That's what they'll say, and they'll be right, I guess.
But I guess the fairness is, I come back to the selection in the first test. All right, if you have got doubts about Sibley and Crawley to the extent that you would consider dropping them after one test match if they didn't perform, then they shouldn't have been in the team in the first place.
Absolutely 100% agree. I'm amazed.
So if you're a selector, and let's pretend I'm the selector now, I'm picking a side. I don't want to pick a guy for one test.
No, absolutely. I'm sure they didn't view that, but they must have known there's a problem.
But I would argue that I would be selecting them, whether they get 2 ducks, get run out both of them, whatever transpires, they're left in, unless they were to not have tried, or unless they were to be argumentative or cause other issues which are got to be ousted immediately, or they're injured. Different story. But if they put their best shot and they happen to get out cheaply, okay, you wouldn't drop the next test match. That's my mentality in this way. The selectors should think that way and then give them one more test at the very least. That's why both sides should be unchanged, except for obvious the Woods and the Ashwins, and the Mo and Ali factor looks like they made a mistake. But it's great commentary from the journalists when they said, "What happened from last week to this one? Why all of a sudden is Mo and Ali in favour?" And he argued about the Chris Woakes scenario, which is fair enough.
He's got to defend his position. Norman, I've got a prediction for this test, by the way. I'll give you a very quick prediction. Whoever wins the toss will win the test. Is my prediction. Win the toss and bat first, and you win the test.
Yeah, I think batting first is extremely important.
Whoever wins the toss will bat first. It's bright and sunny, warm weather in London. You're going to bat first. Absolutely guaranteed. It's going to be.
Do you think that England winning the toss and batting first was the right decision in the first test?
As it transpired, if you get 180 all out, the answer has to be no. It just has to be, because you know, when the toss thinking we're going to get 180 runs, playing no spinner, you would never normally win the toss and bat first when you've got no spinner in your side, because you've got to bowl last. So everything about cricket that anyone knows about says if you're bowling last, you need a spinner on anywhere in the world, day 4 and 5. So that didn't make sense. I can only assume that Joe Root looked at the heavens, looked at the forecast and said, the sun is due to shine on day 1, which it did. And that's going to be the best time to bat in the whole match because the weather's coming in and it could be very, very dicey. And I can only think that they looked at the weather forecast, which in the end wasn't 100% wrong, was it? And that's why they did it. But he couldn't have done it for any other reason, Norman. The only reason he could have done it, playing no spinner and batting first, is because they looked at the weather forecast.
So imagine if India had batted first, which meant that England would have batted last.
If India had batted first, the way the ball moved around on that first day, I saw a stat on it, by the way, it moved around most on days 1 and days 2, but day 1 it moved a lot. I think India would have not got 300 either. It was a fantastic day of cricket, wasn't it? But it was doing loads. That pre-lunch session on that first morning, Norman, crumbs. It was going all over the place. And I think India's batsmen would have struggled as well. I think they might have been 3 down at lunch, give or take, 80 for 3. And that would have been a tough comeback. So, but we don't know, of course, do we? We don't know. And by the way, if you look at India's innings batting, Norman, 97 for 0, 273 all out. So they were also bowled out for 180 runs, weren't they? If you look at it, for 97 for naught, they got bowled out for 180. And Jadeja got most of those.
Yeah, but hang on. I don't think you've done that very fair. I'm not reading it. I'm going to get rid of the comment.
That's okay.
I think you can't dissect the innings that much to say the opener's got this.
I know.
You can't say that.
But for
What if they
97
got
for naught, it was a good comeback, wasn't it?
It's the team squad. The team score is the team score.
Yeah.
You can't say no. That's not right. They did very, very well. Okay. They had a bit of a stumble in the middle there, but they recovered very well, and they got 95 more runs than England. So they were well and truly.
Three of their batters.
The saviour for England was Joe Root getting 109. That was the saviour, because if he got out for a duck, we would have seen the fourth day ended with a result to India.
Yeah, agreed. Joe Root played a match.
People love to have their name. Arjun Ahir. Hello, Arjun Ahir.
Hello, Arjun.
Can you make sure that you subscribe if you're putting yourself up on the screen?
Arjun should ask us a question if he's a new guy. Norman will I'll look out, and if he wants to ask a question, we'll answer it. How about that? If he's a new watcher. I mean,
the others. There was a lot of discussion in the Joe Root discussion about making too many changes to stabilising, and it's a great question. It's also a great question asking him why was Bowen Ali not good last week? Now he's good this week, and he answers it really well by talking about the Chris Wokes factor.
Yeah,
and that's a fair reason. Okay,
I think the points you've made, Norman, are right. I really do. I think you are spot on. I just would go against my gut on it, and I'd say if we've got to make some changes, let's do it now. Let's not wait. Let's do it. And I agree.
But you know what's going to happen, don't you? You know what's going to happen if India win the match. They're gonna consider making further changes to the third match. Yeah. Which would then
press would be all over them, Norman. You're right. They make sweeping changes.
The whole series will implode. The whole series will implode massively.
Possibly, yeah. But if you don't make the changes and we lose the match, then the press will still be at them.
Yeah, but you can't make changes every damn test. That's what I'm telling you. And that's what I'll tell you now, and I'm pretty good at this. If you go back over the history of Test cricket, the moment a team starts chopping and changing a team, they're doomed. It's the sign of, I'll be honest with you, the times when England played Australia, when they were chopping and changing with Lilly and Thompson tore them apart. They made changes. Australia, when they're at their peak with Warne and McGrath, they didn't change their team at all.
They didn't need to, did they?
No, but they could have. They still could have done it. They still could have done it. They could still have made changes. They stuck by them. So England, and that's why India are one of the top ranked teams in the world with Test cricket. Okay, that's why, because they've stuck by their side. Okay, haven't they?
Yeah, and
they didn't win the World Test. They didn't win the West. It failed in the West World Test. I'll give them that. New Zealand beat them, but they made the World Test Championship final. Okay, so we've got to remember they didn't fail by getting there, did they? So I give a lot of credit to that. I really think I'll be shocked if India make too many changes. I really think the only change they're going to make purposely will be Ashwin coming in. Otherwise, Ishant Sharma, Agarwal, who are both injured, won't come back. And that's where England needs to learn and not bring Pope straight back in either.
What India should do, but they won't, and I wouldn't either. Bear with me. What they would like to do, I think, Norman, would bring Ashwin in for Jadeja as a straight swap. I think that's what they'd like to do. However, they won't. I wouldn't do that either because I think Ravi Jadeja is a fantastic player. If I was captain, I'd want him in my side every game. I just want him because
he's fielding.
He's fielding. Okay, so, but that causes them a slight problem. And now, whether they could, and I'm not saying that, I'm just saying whether they could bring Jadeja in at number 5 and drop Rahane, and then Pant at 6, Ashwin, and then your bowlers is a discussion, but that they could have. I don't think they'll do it. And therefore,
and of course, the Indian team, you would sometimes wonder whether it's not only selected by the Indian selection panel, but by India as a country.
I know.
And if you do that, there'll be pandemonium.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid that sometimes can kill that suggestion.
It causes
The
them a
reality is
problem, Norman, because I think they should go in with the four seamers and Ashwin. I think that's what they need
I mean,
to do.
I'll go
and
back
that
to what
causes a
Coley
problem.
said. Coley said the template's been set for this match. They're going to keep that template. That's what he said up the first test.
Well, so therefore they play four seamers and spinner. If that's their template, which it was.
Well, that's. I mean, that's the only. I'm. If I'm being honest with you, I wouldn't change the 11 at all.
Oh, Ashwin's going to play, Norman.
No, but hang on.
Ashwin's got to
I'm
play.
just saying to you. But what Coley said, I actually support. I really do.
I'm going to say that it's 5-day test match at Lord's in bright sunshine. You have to play a spinner, no question. That's why England
He's the only change. He's the only change. He's the only change. He's the only change.
So he's got to play. And if Coley has said they like their template of what they're playing, and I agree with him, by the way, the template they had was good, then Ashwin has to come in for Jadeja, doesn't he? Because they want to keep the four seamers, which is also right. I think they need the four seamers, but I think
I wouldn't be shocked if Ashwin went in. I wouldn't be shocked. Okay, I really wouldn't be.
Ashwin for Jadeja, you think?
I wouldn't be shocked by that.
No, I wouldn't be either.
But I don't think
would want Jadeja.
The only thing is, I don't know whether Thakur did himself too many favours in the first match. I don't think he played as well as he could have, and that may worry India a little bit. Hence, Ashwin coming in for Thakur. That's my only thought.
He did take a couple of wickets, I think, didn't he? He bowled all right.
Yeah, but I guess so.
What is it? He's swinger rather. He's not as quick.
Anyway, whatever way they go, if they bring Ashwin in for Jadeja or bring Ashwin in for Thakur, they're still not destabilising the side sufficiently. Okay.
What do people think, Norman? What do they think online? Well, how would they pick? I haven't seen anyone from the thing what they're going to pick. Who are Indian fans who are watching now? What do they think?
Well, what MD Sharif's saying Ashwin for Siraj is better.
Don't see it. I would be amazed if Siraj gets dropped. Loved him in the face of the England batsman. Loved it.
Yeah.
And Manus, your point is exactly what we've just been saying. Manus Darwin has just come up with exactly what we've just said. How Jadeja is a brilliant player, but Ashwin is the best spin bowler in the world. There's your conundrum.
No, I don't deny that, but the reason why. But hang on, I predicted that Jadeja would go in, Ashwin would in the first match. I said that, and the reason why was because it was a left-hander foil that was extremely important. Now we're talking about adding Ashwin on, not taking away Jadeja. So Ashwin's going to be in the team for one of the bowlers, probably Thakur.
Yeah,
okay.
I think that's what they'll do. But then you said that Kohli's interview said that they like the template that they've found.
But it's still a template. It's still the same template.
But it's not, because you're talking about three seamers instead of four seamers.
No. Yeah,
okay. Their template in the first test surely was four.
But it's still the template. They're putting in 5 bowlers, right?
Okay.
6 batters. Okay.
Okay.
And
for 5 bowlers. All right.
Okay. That's the template hasn't changed.
I view what he said as maybe thinking 4 seamers and a spinner is the best.
No, not necessarily.
You don't read that way. Okay.
5 bowlers, 5 genuine bowlers. 1 being an all-round, in fact, 2 being an all-rounder with Ashwin on the side, you would argue, and even Thakur's in that same boat. So they've got. I mean, if that existing team fires, they'll beat England.
Possibly. Oh well, hold it. Yeah, I mean, if all of their side are on top form, they're going to beat anyone.
Based on the history of Lords, yes.
We don't play. We haven't genuinely played well at Lords. I think we beat the Aussies in 19, didn't we? I think we won in the Ashes at Lords. I may be wrong. So who knows?
For Archer played them. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Wow. What a shame. Archer out until the new year. Bad.
Anyway, I'm just saying to you that India will change very little. England look to be changing more. Hopefully, it's not too much more, because if they make 4 changes, they're going to lose the match. Full stop. Too many changes. You rarely win a test match after making 4 changes. Rare.
Yeah.
In fact, that's a great thing to go and analyse, is how many teams have actually won the next test match after dropping 4 players.
Yeah.
Not many sides.
No, I agree. Norman, I agree.
It's usually an absolute desperation of a team that's getting thrashed that does that.
I would sacrifice the loss in this test to try and for us to find a better test team going forward.
Well, that's their decision, but they're going to lose this match.
That's what I would do. Amy and Bora, Sky batting at 3 instead of Pujara. I think there's a lot of confusion these days with the difference between Test cricket and one-day cricket, and I think it's a shame that it's a massive blurring these days. And I don't see Sky being a Test player at all at the moment.
You can't say it all because he's been brought into the squad, so it's not at all.
I'm amazed. He's a 2020 specialist whacker.
Agarwal, Eswaran, Rahul, who's now on the side, Gill, they're the players that will be considered. Now, Gill's not considered because he's injured. But the other is Vihari will also go in front of. So let's look at the squad now. If there are going to be any changes in the batting lineup, the players to go in will be Agarwal first.
Maybe Vihari at 5 if they wanted to make that change.
That's what I'm saying.
That could be a
down the track. The first change will be Agarwal and Vihari with Eswari before Prithvi Shaw and before Sky.
Yeah, Sky is brilliant. Looks brilliant in the 2020s.
Well, it's a pat on his back that he's been brought on the squad. Put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, crikey, if we were picking on 2020s, we'd have Jason Roy, wouldn't we, in our test side opening the batting, wouldn't we?
But the thing is, the Indian batting lineup is going to stay, but they have Agarwal, you've got to feel sorry for Agarwal because, well, in a way, because Gill was injured.
Did he play in Australia, Norman, last winter?
He did. Yeah. He played well.
Yeah. It's a tough game, isn't it?
He's actually he's quality. He is. Yeah. He is quality.
Man in possession, Norman, isn't it? You it's the problem, isn't it? You've got to, if you're not in the side, it's hard, isn't it? You know.
Well, looking at any of the good Australian side, there were players that were like even Hussey in his day had to wait till he was past 30 to get into the damn team.
He was brilliant, Mike Hussey, when he came in. And so was
but he had to wait till he was 30, 31 to get into the side.
37, didn't he? Was Rogers 37?
You know what? Actually, it was interesting because Hussey actually retired, you would argue, rather abruptly.
Yeah.
He could have played a few more years, actually. Because he played state cricket after and played really well, so he could have played longer.
I didn't Katic come in. He was quite old when he came in.
No, he was there at mid-20s.
Oh, was he? I got that wrong.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And then he didn't.
I know Rogers was old when he came in and played for a couple of years. Rogers.
Yeah, he was old. Well, Chris Rogers played 1 test match and then was in the wilderness for years and then came back very late.
And played really well.
But see, in that 1 test match, he failed and he was dumped immediately. Wrong. You don't bring a new batsman in for one, unless it's the last match of the Test series or something like that. If you select a new opening batsman, you have to give him 2 or 3 games. You have to, because if he
comes in, he gets the rest of the series, doesn't he? Whenever he comes in, and I'm sure he will.
I can't remember the circumstances of Chris Rogers playing, but I don't think he was the original pick of the series. I think he came in for 1 match, and the player he replaced came back. I think.
When he came into the Test, the Ashes series, which would have probably been 2015, maybe.
Yeah.
Over here, he just looked $1 million. He looked like a guy who'd been around for 15 years.
Well, he had been.
He looked like that, didn't he? He looked like a guy who knew his game. The one thing as a batter that I think that I learned as I grew older, I think I became a better batter, was what shots not to play. I think you learn the shots that you're not particularly good at, and you just don't play them, and you just play the shots you are good at. And Chris Rogers did that, didn't he? He flicked off his leg and he cut it, pretty much, wasn't it?
Mike Hussey, Chris Rogers,
yeah.
Simon Katic to a lesser extent. Who else was there? There was another player too who played for Western Australia who came in and again had a batting average of 80 at one stage, and went down to 60. Who was that? Who is it? You know who I'm talking about?
I do know who you're talking about, and my brain's gone blank on him.
Oh, I've got his name too.
He was
Simon. No, it's not Simon.
Well, it'll come to us. It'll come to us.
Yeah, well, he was another one. I remember seeing him in. I was in Dominica in the West Indies. I watched Australia play the West Indies, and he got a huge. I think it was a double 100. He looked magnificent. Oh, it's not Simon, is it? What's his name? Oh, I've forgotten his name. But yeah, he was another.
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I can't. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? How you mature. Look at Graham Swan, Norman. Had a test match or went on tour when he was a kid. Bit of a difficult character. Disappeared for 10 years. 10 years in the wilderness, and then comes back, knows his game, knows how to play, and performs. You know, that's the game, isn't it? Cricket. That is absolutely the game.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of this guy's name. Anyway, yeah, it was definitely one was. Does anyone know the name? One was definitely I can't
Rogers
get
is
it
the
up.
guy I remember as coming in as a 36-year-old or something, having 2
Was
seasons.
it Simon? Was it Simon? It was. I'm
Simon
here.
O'Donnell. You're thinking Simon O'Donnell, are you?
No.
I love him. He's Victorian. I want to buff him.
Simon. I'm thinking Simon.
I can't remember the name. Norman.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll come to me. But he Hussey, even David Hussey, his brother.
Yeah.
And obviously Brett Hodge is another one who scores a double century, doesn't get a game again.
I was going to say to you, Norman, I noticed Siddharth hasn't come on today to defend his atrocious comment last time I was on with him.
Who?
Siddharth. Saying that the game would be over, like you said, on day 4. We wouldn't even be back for a pre-show on day 5.
Well, it could have happened if Joe Root got out. It could well have happened.
If it coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Anyway, I can't remember his name, but so
what's your prediction?
Voges, V-O-G-E.
Adam Voges, good player, really good player.
Adam Voges. I don't know where that came from. Something came from Adam Voges. Obviously, Mike Hussey, even David Hussey, Kaddish to an extent. There's several of these players, Chris Rogers and Brad Hodge. They're players that really, even Jamie Siddons, who never got a test game at all, was a prolific run scorer for his state. Should have been in there. And Klinger and there's a few.
Cool, Michael, you're going back. Well, tell me, Norman, what's your prediction? What do you think is going to happen on Thursday at the home of cricket?
What's going to happen? Okay.
Yeah.
I did say the first test India was going to win, and they didn't because of rain. Okay, that's my. Even though that's a bit of a body blow to India because they've come out with a loss, which is called a draw.
Yeah.
If England muck around with a side like we're suggesting, they're not going to be good enough. Moeen Ali will have a good game, yes, but I think, and even Mark Wood might be pretty fair. But I actually think that England had their opportunity at Trent Bridge with their bowling line, and they didn't perhaps play as well as they could have, in my thoughts.
Yeah.
The fact that they got 270 on. I think we're going to see some of those Indian batsmen fire that we've been talking about that haven't, like Kohli. And I think that with KL Rahul in form, and as you said, if India win the toss and bat, they're going to win the match. And I think India will win. And I actually think, especially if it's clear skies, and if they include Ashwin or not, but let's say he's included, they're going to take the 20 wickets and they're going to win quite convincingly. I don't know by how much, but they're going to be convincing in their victory.
And if England win the toss and bat?
I think it'll be a lot closer. I still think India will win.
Okay. The one thing I'd say about Mark Wood, for the people who are watching now, is that earlier this summer he set a record in English cricket. He bowled the most number of consecutive overs of 90-plus mile an hour bowling that we've ever had delivered by an Englishman. He bowled a whole spell where I think Muncie will tell me if I'm wrong. I think he bowled a spell of 5 overs where every ball was registered around at 92 miles an hour or more. If he's still in that sort of form, Norman, that will cause some big problems, I think, for the middle.
Yeah, but you know what? The thing about Wood that doesn't concern me, Wood's not a swinger of the ball, is he?
He's skiddy quick, Norman. Skiddy quick.
Yeah, but you know what? The Indian batsmen, the pitches they're not Australian pitches.
No.
So they won't be necessarily around their ear, will they?
No, but you've got to understand how many bowlers in world cricket at the moment are bowling at 93, 94 miles an hour. Name me.
No, but I actually don't think the Indian batsmen don't fear pace. They feel bouncing balls. They feel.
Yeah. He can get it. Well, we'll see. All I'm saying is if Wood can get it up there, he's going to cause some problems.
Oh yeah, but I actually think the danger for India is more Broad and perhaps Robinson or whomever swinging the ball and cutting the ball and getting them nicking is more of a danger, to be honest. And I actually think
I'm wrong.
I really am disappointed that Pujara didn't get a chance in the second innings because I think he would have made hay, even though the Crystal would have favoured bowl. I think he would have really batted well. With KL Rahul, I'm very impressed with him, and Rohit Sharma. If those two fire and Pujara and Kohli get a wriggle on, and they bat first, there'll be a big score. I'm pretty convinced there'll be a big score.
I think whoever bats first on the first day, there will be a decent score on the board by the side batting first. I agree with you.
Well, we're going to work out why Kohli keeps losing the bloody toss.
Let's hope he loses it for the whole summer, Norman. The whole summer.
Yeah, I really think England are in a bit of trouble here. I really do. Especially if Joe Root gets out early.
Which, of course, you can do. Everyone can get out early.
No, but I'm saying I think England are putting too much emphasis and pressure on Root to be the run scorer. And he's capable of it, we know that. But India haven't got that problem. They're not necessarily, even though they're not batting well, they're not relying on one batter. Okay? So I think you'll find that could if India click with their batting, England are in trouble.
Yeah. Yes, agreed. Absolutely 100% agreed. Because they've got a really good batting lineup.
And I think India are more likely to click with their batting than England, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I rather like our bowling attack. No, I've got to be honest. I think Robinson is a real find.
Oh, no, they're good bowling attack. But I'll tell you what, India's done nothing to be sneezed at either. Bumrah got how many wickets? 9.
9. Yeah, 9 wickets. And
Robinson
got 9, didn't he?
No, he got 5 and 1 innings.
And 5 in the and Anderson got 4. Yeah, sorry, I apologise. Yeah, absolutely. You've got a fan on here, Norman. By the way, I'm going to see who it was. Sorry, I just saw a comment very quickly that suggesting that Rohit. Suman. Hello, Suman. Rohit will score a granddaddy 100. You're speaking Norman's language. How many is Rohit?
I'll tell you what. If India get in the bat first and they get good starts and they score big, it's going to be colossal.
Rohit, 150, Norman?
160, I said.
160. Can you write that in the comments?
I said 147. And he scored 161. Yeah, didn't it? Anyway, no, I think there's too many players that if they do get their act together, they could really hurt England in the batting department, I reckon.
Yeah, I agree.
I forget England. Forget your allegiance to England. It would be good to see. One of my favourite batting performances for a long time was back when Rahul Dravid and Vivius Luxman came back from being following on. That was one of my most. That was the most
400 or something. Was it right? Was it? They did something.
Their backs were against the wall.
Yeah.
And those two absolutely gave it to Australia.
Yeah.
And I can't say that, it could easily happen against England.
Could do.
If Kohli and Pujara get their act together and they're on song after a solid Rahul Sharma partnership, we could be looking at 400 or 500.
Well,
and then
it could be.
Let's be honest. If India get 400 or 500 the first thing, England are not going to win.
No, if anyone gets 450 first dig, that's the game saved, isn't it? It's very rare, very, very rare that someone comes back from 450 conceding and wins the game. Very rare.
Let's be honest, England are relying too much on Root at the moment.
Yeah.
Without Ben Stokes around there, Ben Stokes is extremely important. The only saver for England is that Bairstow's there. I think he can bat well with Root. I think they bat well together. And then I don't know how many times they've batted well together in the tests beforehand, but if Bairstow's played 75 tests and Root 100, whatever he's played, there's a pretty good chance they've had a lot of innings together.
Oh, there was a stat I saw a couple of weeks ago. They've scored the most runs together as a partnership for England in the last, decade or something. Root and Bairstow are up there as the most number of batting runs together.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Okay. We might finish this. I'm buggered for some reason today.
Norman, it's what, 10-2, 10-1.
Do you know on Sunday, my two lives, one was, wait for it, 4 hours long. And then I backed it, and then I backed it up after the game with a 3-hour marathon.
I would be lying if I said I watched. Saturday I was more able to watch some because I was somewhere and I just had a load of free time on my hands, so I was able to sit and listen to you, Norman. Who would have ever thought that would have been my Saturday night accompaniment? Listening.
Can you believe it? I spoke for virtually 7 hours on a day when there was not a ball bowled.
And it was all rubbish, Norman, wasn't
it? 7 hours without a ball being bowled.
Imagine. And
I had no less than a combination of 60,000 people watch those two shows.
And they were waiting for you to say something sensible for all that time, Norman. They were disappointed. All those thousands of people.
Can you believe that? It's quite an incredible stat.
I saw the figures. I was checking the figures, and I thought it was awesome. And just think of that time, Munchie was getting annihilated by that poor cat. I mean, imagine that. Poor Munchie. Poor Munchie. So.
All right, we're gonna finish on. See, this is the problem. Around this time, the numbers start to grow. We start to get more people watching.
Have we had many viewers today, Norman?
And no, it hasn't been that high. But I'm just saying to you,
I'm back.
I'm just trying to say to you, when I try to actually say goodbye, it's almost as if they sent a signal out for people to start watching.
Well, I shall sign off and let you finish off your show with some more predictions.
All right, Rich.
I reckon win the toss. Whoever wins the toss wins the match. There you go. How's that for a prediction?
I'll stick by the fact that both teams should have minimal changes.
I think England will make at least 3. At least 3.
It sounds like it, but they shouldn't. Anyway.
They will make 3. Brilliant. Have a good one. Cheers, everybody.
Okay, Rich. Ciao.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Ciao. All right, guys. We've heard from Banster Boy, Munchie. That's obvious. Pratyush, you're getting cheeky in your old age there. Old age of 14. You've only got, 12 days before you turn 15. Is that right? Yeah, I'm seeing Suman Awashi say that Ashwin will replace Jadeja, and that will cause problems. You're right. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think that if they're going to bring Ashwin in, they're likely to not have Tucker there. And that's probably the only change that'll be in that side. And that's fair enough. Being the second test match, they should allow the same team to continue, especially because they didn't get a chance to have a second innings and they almost won the match. So why would you change the side? England, however, are worried, and they've already thrown Moeen Ali into the mix, which is fair, and Mark Wood, fair. But then if they bring Ollie Pope in as well, they're making 3 changes. Now, that's one too many. They should bring maximum of 2. That's it. And give the opening pair of Crawley, Sibley, and Burns a go, another test match before they bring in Hamid. Because if they bring in Hamid, they should have brought him in the first match, not this match. That's my thoughts. Patrish reckons they'll make 2 changes. What are your 2 changes, Patrish? Yeah, if the rain, Vaughan would have been hiding, you're right. Change batting, not bowling. This is you're talking about England? Well, that's the critical nature of it. David Graveney, who was the chairman of selectors for a long time, says you generally don't change the batting order. If any change, it's the bowling. So that goes against what you're saying, Munchie. And I agree with David Graveney. You pick a bunch of batsmen, you let them have at least 2 matches, or if not perfect scenario, all 5, because you select for the series. I know other things can go wrong. Get Latrell Mitchell on the show. I will try. We'll get good old Steve Maven, who's been on the show, who played on the wing for South Sydney, and Darren Brown, who played in utility positions. We'll get them to try and bring Latrell. Why not? Get him on the show. Good idea. Ramy must be Australian. Ali in for Lawrence and Wood in for Broad. That's probably a fair 2 changes. Yes, I would say a fair 2 changes. But if they're going to, and Pope should not be put in. I think Pope, even though he got injured, shouldn't just be rushed right back in, because unfortunately Bairstow did well. As did Rahul for Agwal. He shouldn't get back in. As did Siraj for Ishant. Ishant, Pope, and Agwal will not get back in. Shouldn't get back in because their replacements actually did a good job. 3 that took their place did a good job. So, okay, so please make sure you view, like, and share. Anyone that's new, I don't think there's too many people who are new today. Watch out for running out of Hodge. Yeah, I think it'll be good. England bowling is not weak. The batting is. The bowlers had an extra day off, so it will be a fresher. Batting is clearly struggling and better batsmen are available. So if they're available, Munchie, why weren't they picked to start with? Why would you pick them and put them in the second test? You don't change teams every game. Very, very strong rule. You keep them for at least the first 2, optimum all 5. Batting's why I'm talking about. And you give them a chance to prove themselves. That's why they've been selected. If they were weak, they should have the strongest side from the beginning. Chris Wokes was the stabilising factor to allow Melvin Ali in. I accept that. Markle was playing at the end. I accept that. As was Ashwin. I accept that. But that's it. If you start the people that were injured, Ishant Sharma, Agarwal, and Pope should miss at least 2 tests, not just the one that they're injured for. Who was ahead of selection between Agarwal and Vihari? Probably Agarwal at the moment, slightly. But Vihari is certainly not far behind. So Rory Burns, Ollie Pope should be in a second match, and Lawrence should be promoted. No, I don't agree. Lawrence should be the one dropped. It isn't enough, Sebastius, Bravo. They've got to at least play 2, if not more. Overton's not being considered as far as I'm aware. It's Wood. Clearly, this selection bias has this issue. Removing a selection committee and letting the coach pick. If we don't change the batting, we will lose. Okay? We stick by your words, but you shouldn't change teams for the sake of changing. I feel Sharma will be rested due to overs bowled. He looked a bit tired. Maybe it's not me. I'm not sure. I don't know that. He did look a bit tired. All right, guys. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, guys. I have to go. All right, so please, we'll leave it at that today. This is a good discussion. Thanks to Reg. If you like and share the post, make sure you go to my Norman Koch Instagram and Twitter. I'm also on LinkedIn at Norman Kochnik. And more importantly, share through WhatsApp, through whatever. WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, your email traffic, your other groups and other platforms to get them on this site, please. And get them to subscribe and hit the notification button. Don't you feel yourself you've got an ugly beard? Maybe not. Thank you. Okay, all right. So we'll let that go. India fan of Latrell Mitchell based on out of the US. Oh, okay, Ran. That's interesting. You're a Latrell Mitchell. I'm actually going to make a photocopy of that because that's something that the South and Reveille guys would like to see. All right. We're going to go, guys. I think we've had enough. All right, guys. It's time for me to go. All the best. About 2 hours. You take care, guys. So it's again, there'll be a show tomorrow, which will be on the eve of the match, and we'll then have the pre and post show as I've done right for the series. We'll do all the updates to the various media bulletins that come out, like the one I did for Joe Root. So, all right, all the best, guys. Take care, and I'll see you soon.